All right, guys, we're live. Uh, yo, ST, what's up, man?
Oh, hey, August is here.
August, August popped in.
Oh, all right. That was easy.
Money.
Perfect timing. What the heck happened?
I don't know. Oh wait, is that him?
Did he die and come back? This is his extra life.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
what's up, man?
Hey, yeah, my mic wasn't working. Okay, cool. How's everybody doing?
Good, man.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, been better, but whatever.
Good.
Let's do it.
I can open up my notes. I feel like it's almost like a progress report or something.
Yeah, it's like a mini book report.
Pretty much. Except movie report.
You
I thought the movie was a good movie.
It had many things and many colors.
Definitely.
did have a lot of colors.
Oh man, it was really. I don't know how to feel about that movie.
I know how to feel about the movie we watched. I know exactly how to feel about it.
I mean, they went for something different with the character, but I mean, for me, it didn't land.
So here's the thing. Is I actually didn't know, and I feel dumb afterwards, but I didn't even know that it was like that. It was King Arthur was the old man.
Yeah.
I
So I
yeah.
was just about to say
Oh,
that. But yeah,
And
it's
really? I didn't
actually
know that
based.
either.
Yeah, it's actually based on an Arthurian legend from like the 13th century.
I
yeah,
knew that, but I
it's
just
just
didn't
Gawain and
realize
the
it
Green
was.
Knight. That's
Yeah.
it's just a really old story.
Yeah, and so it was like it was really confusing, and it wasn't until I kind of looked into the background of the movie, like what the actual movie was about. The book, I'm sorry, the book was about originally. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it really helps the actual the book, fills in like some plot holes.
Hmm.
Like I had no idea that was
Well,
King Arthur. I had no idea that he was like, using Excalibur to essentially, fight that
night.
guy. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and there was a lot of pressure on him to, obviously become the next king.
Uh-huh.
Take
And
after.
and of course that makes Gawain's mother, Morgana Le Fay.
Yes, yeah. But they just like I think they just did a really poor job of like obviously sounds like it of announcing who the characters were.
They didn't say
Yeah.
who any characters were.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie was a little. I can't even remember the word, but basically, it assumed you kind of knew the background of the movie going in,
Yeah.
which is kind of good and bad in its own right. I think it assumes. I'm not going to say it assumes much of the audience, but like, there are definitely things that are more subtle than just like an average movie putting it out there.
Yeah. I
Agreed.
feel
Well,
like the dialogue was pretty sparse too in terms of like describing what was happening. So like it was more of like a visual experience.
Oh, definitely.
80% of this movie was main character staring off into the distance or main character walking slash riding on horse.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then having some kind of camera trick slash visual fucking bullshittery
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
It
I
was
thought it
definitely
was
a
pretty cool.
cinematographer's movie.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Thought the movie was
I
cool.
e-
Like visually for sure.
Oh yeah,
Even
visually
from
it's
like a
dope.
cinematography standpoint, I felt like the movie was still
I mean,
lacking.
you mentioned to me before today that you thought it kind of like if you applied this to like Legend of Zelda, like it would be a really good movie.
Yeah, if you look at this like, oh, they could make a Legend of Zelda movie. They're like it could make a really good, like, it has a lot of potential. Like in the future.
I Yeah, I totally agree with that. I got some Zelda vibes from a couple of scenes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that they actually attempt it at some point, like a live action.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Did you guys? Okay, so what?
Where are we starting here?
Where should we start at the beginning? Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should,
no.
we should start at the
Let's
beginning.
start at the beginning. I mean, it's the background, of course, is that it's based on an Arthurian legend.
Yes.
In
If you don't
this,
know the Arthurian legend, then you're going to be kind of lost, to be brutally
yep,
honest.
yep.
Because this movie does
Um,
not explain anything.
yeah, Gawain starts as King Arthur's nephew, yet to be knighted as a full knight. That's kind of one of the big conceits of the movie is that it's his quest to achieve knightly greatness.
Yes.
His mother is a sorceress, Morgana Le Fay. I think that's actually changed from the original poem it's based on. I think originally Morgana Le Fay was his aunt, but it's kind of the same difference for the movie.
She's just a witch in this also.
Yeah. Um, but yeah. So
It's Christmas.
you starting at the beginning. Yep, it's Christmas. You know, it's kind of basically the opening scene is like he's doing his thing, hanging out in a brothel, and then meet up with his girlfriend, and then he comes back home, of course, smelling of drink and ale and good times. And then he has a party at the King's later. So
oh,
uh, he goes and hits that up.
can we talk about like I also want to say like the very first scene in the movie where it's like the very like kind of intro to the it's like essentially this is the tale this isn't the tale of like King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone, all that stuff. You guys remember that?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a little opening monologue.
Yeah,
Oh, when they were whispering?
Yeah, the whispering
Oh yeah,
lady.
you can barely hear it.
I could barely hear it. I had my
I didn't hear
volume
that
at
either.
like 75 out of 80 on my TV, and I'm like, speak up anytime now.
So
Yeah.
I watched that and I read way too hard into like what that meant. Like at first, I'd like tried to uh think. I tried to use the imagery to like think of like what exactly it meant because it like they made him look like some kind of a god or something like that. But I don't know. I didn't want to like I didn't know if you guys thought anything weird about the opening scene just before we got too far.
Not really. It seemed like just like a standard little opening monologue thing for like Arthurian tales. The part that was really struck me as weird was like the 6 different versions of like the Sir Gawain title card that played. Like it just said like the story of Sir Gawain, and it said it like 6 times all in like different fonts and stuff, just like shifting through it. Weird.
Yeah, they really loved their fonts,
Really
their medieval
weird.
fonts in this movie.
I couldn't
With
all the
read
different
half
It
of
title
was
cards.
too distracting. I feel like they didn't need to do that. Just stick
Yeah.
to like one.
But then they didn't keep that up either. In other like title card transitions and stuff like that, it was just one set of font. And that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like so I don't know why they did like that like I don't know, test reel of fonts in the beginning.
right. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, August. About going through this.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just waiting for everyone else to chime in. But yeah. So yeah, like what else happens in the opening scene? We go to Christmas. There's a party. I mean, I think one of the big themes of this is kind of one of the big themes of this movie, and it's kind of implied in the title when they do that title card scene, is they call it a chivalric romance. And it kind of has to do with kind of the concepts of like knights and chivalry and worthiness and like virtue.
Yeah.
And like the kind of stereotypical hero's journey.
And Gawain is none of these.
Yeah, well, I mean that's kind of the point. I mean, he has to go through the hero's journey of the movie to achieve
Yeah.
even the modicum of greatness that he achieves, and that's
Mhm.
kind of the point.
Mm.
So in the beginning of this, yeah, I mean, he's a young wannabe knight who hasn't really earned his stripes yet.
He's
And
just
he
hanging out
definitely
with short
feels
hair
that way
girl.
about himself too.
He just
Except
spends his days drinking and banging with short hair girl.
he's literally a fuckboy.
Yep,
Pretty
very
much,
much so.
yeah.
Um,
And yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because the one of the kind of implications you get as you kind of follow along in the movie and kind of see what's going on around him is like you get kind of, or at least like, and that's kind of one of the annoying things about the movie is nothing is outright stated. But it's kind of implied that like his mom was one of the people who set this whole thing up in the first place, just to toughen him up because again he's kind of a fuckboy. So at least I got the impression that like his mom was behind the challenge of it to a certain extent in the first point.
it,
Um,
it does
but
seem like she kind of
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. But
because she wrote the letter, right? That she
She
sent.
she she writes and delivers the letter.
Yeah,
yeah,
She is essentially the Green Knight at that time.
right.
yeah, like as I said, I think whoever or whatever the Green Knight is, she had a hand in setting up this whole thing to try to get the boy to grow up because he wasn't doing it on his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, essentially, he wants to be a knight, but he's not really doing much to earn it. And flash forward to he's the party of Christmas Eve on the at the castle. And the king invites him up to sit next to him and asks him for like a story about his like travels, and he's like, "Well, I don't really have anything to tell you."
Yeah.
Which
I
was kind of an embarrassing moment. And they're like, "Yet you don't have anything to tell us yet," and he's just like, "Yeah, sure."
I,
Yeah,
I
they're
have
still
here in my
encouraging.
notes in all caps, why is everyone whispering? The
I
Oh,
just
like the
think
other
that was
night.
the way they wanted to do the movie. I don't think it was specifically a like.
Wait, you thought they were whispering?
They were
they
whispering.
were whispering for sure.
They were whispering.
I think that was just a design decision of the director that like anything not essential to the plot was just kind of
Like in the
Whisper?
background.
Oh,
conveyed in hushed tones.
can anyone else like? Okay, so I had a point that I had forgotten, and that's like, doesn't anyone get some strong horror vibes from this?
Horror?
Yeah, there were some definite
Just
horror themes. I wouldn't say like it was in any sense of the idea of horror movie, but yeah, I mean the Green Knight was creepy.
yeah, just when he came in and he was just like this dark shadow taking out like the candles or the yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
we also have like the cuts to like the mysterious women like blindfolding themselves
Oh
and
yeah,
writing
yeah, that too.
letters and
have you?
sending messages through magic fire and
It's
stuff
like
like that.
if you watch the movie Hereditary. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but
haven't seen it yet. I keep meaning to watch it.
if you watch, I mean, it's a really scary movie.
Yeah, no, I heard it's good.
And it's if you watch that and let's say you watch this afterwards, you kind of see what I'm talking about. Because it uses like similar like paces for like horror elements in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like I got strong horror vibes at the beginning. I was like, it's actually a horror movie, like a medieval horror movie, and then it's like, no, it's not. I don't know.
No, I understand where you're coming from on that. Yeah.
Especially like they basically begin the whole thing off by saying like this guy's fucked. It's like, all right, the imagery
Yeah.
and everything.
It's actually the same production company that did The Green Knight, A24. They did Hereditary as well.
Oh, okay.
So there could be some overlap in some of the production staff. I'm not sure. I have to double check that. But yeah, A24 likes doing really weird kind of avant-garde films.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So essentially, I mean, he's at a party. He gets asked to come up by the king's side, and then all of a sudden, this like giant, like 8 foot tall knight shows up out of nowhere that looks like a tree man from Lord of the Rings. And everyone's like a very kind of wary and on edge. And the knight basically issues a challenge that like anyone willing to uh pick up a sword and strike him down, um, and be willing to receive that same strike in a year, will be gifted his giant, cool looking axe. And you can see all the knights as famous and legendary as they are, which is kind of the big funny thing that we talk about. Like there's a scene where they ask Owen what he sees around him, and he sees legends. Like these are all the legendary knights of the Round Table. Yet even these supposedly legendary, courageous knights are all wary of this challenge because it sounds like a setup. It sounds pretty sus. It sounds sketchy as shit. And not to mention like obviously there's some magical shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
So as brave as they are, they're also smart enough to realize that this sounds sus. But of course, young Gawain, be it for courage or foolishness, decides to take up the challenge. And goes and cuts the Green Knight's head off. So he does it. He doesn't expect any consequences of what he does because
Well, see,
he's not thinking. But the Green Knight picks up his own head and he's like, "Yeah, so I'll see you in a year."
that was the part where I was like a little confused about because, of course, like
Yeah, I felt like there was gonna be like a fight, right? Because it seemed like he was expecting a fight, and then he got confused, right?
well, so the rules are explained to him, to everyone in the room, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I don't think he really thought about them when they were explained, though. I just think he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I'll step up.
and
I'll
even
show my
like
my
Yeah, I
bravery."
think that was just like an inexperienced person's like automatic decision to just go and try and do something to like
right.
prove that he could be a legend.
Well, even King Arthur was like, "Do you understand the rules?" It's like, "Yes." And then as he's like cutting off his head, I'm like, he understands the rules, right?
Yeah, like
He
I mean,
underst-
clearly he does. Well, because I mean, he even says like the Green Knight even says that like don't have to cut my head off. Like this is a friendly game. You could just nick me, and then I'll return the favor in a year's time. But
Right.
no, he goes balls to the walls and cuts the dude's head off.
Well, I mean, the knight offers his head. I
Yeah.
mean, um, and it just seemed like kind of nuts.
Well, I mean,
Thinking
he
of
says
consequences.
you can do whatever you want. It's
It's a
a
game.
quote unquote friendly game. So you can nick me, you can cut my head off. Like that's part of the challenge of bravery, I guess, or friendliness, I guess. It's kind of like the whole kind of narrative centers around tests of virtue.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a test of kind of what he would do, and like what his virtues are. And his main virtue in this situation was not thinking. So
No.
I mean, it was what it was, but he was brave, foolish, but he was brave, if nothing else.
Yeah, I just think like it's funny how it's like King Arthur's like, remember that it's just a game, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he said he gave him like two warnings, essentially.
Yep.
Gave him two whole fucking warnings, and then the kid still cuts off his head, and like, I don't understand how. Anyway,
I mean, in the original poem, I think that's one of the points. It kind of talks about kind of the brashness or the foolishness of youth. But yeah, I mean, young people are going to do young people stuff, and that's kind of the point here. Like he wasn't thinking about consequence. I mean, and that's kind of the big point here. I mean, he was thinking that, oh, if I cut his head off, he'll just be dead, so I won't have to deal with any of this later. And meanwhile, like, no, that's not at all what's going on. He just wasn't really thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
He wasn't expecting the knight to pick his head up and walk out the door, but of course, it happened.
I didn't really think about it until now, but yeah, consequence is a big theme of the movie. At least when I really think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say choice making and consequence are a big theme, as well as, I mean, again, coming back to honor and dishonor, and
making the honorable and right choice.
Staying true to your word. I think that's kind of the biggest focus of the movie. But yeah, so essentially, he's not thinking about the consequence of his actions. He's just thinking about the kind of glory of the moment. And it's kind of funny because by doing this foolish act, he earns glory like immediately. Like, songs are now sung about his name. He's got plays about him. He's getting like free drinks in bars around the city. Like, he gets all this fame and recognition. But at the same time, and as you see in the same plays, there's a darker edge, because even in the play, uh, like, they basically spin like a little rotary wheel that has all the seasons on it, and like in a year's time, he's, instead of him chopping off the Green Knight's head, he's the one getting his head chopped off. So it's kind of like, what worth is all the glory you earned if you're still going to get killed in a year?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the ephemeral nature of glory. Like, is this what you really wanted? Like, is this all that mattered to you? Because glory's easy. Like, doing something meaningful is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, like, they kind of brush on it a little bit, but like, is everyone, like, another theme is everyone meant for greatness? Like,
Yeah.
truly, like, is that something that means really anything?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, it was the, like, his girlfriend asked him later on when he's gearing up for the journey out to see the Green Knight, like, why do you need greatness? Is goodness not good enough? And he's like, no, of course not, because he's been raised on Arthurian legend where everything is a myth and a it's not a myth and a fantasy, but everything is like larger than life, and it needs to be more than what it is in reality. Meanwhile, I'm kind of flashing forward to the end of the movie, but there's a scene where, like, he's about to get his head chopped off, and he's asking the Green Knight. He's just like, "Is this all there is?" And the Green Knight's like, "What else did you want there to be?"
Yeah, he's like, essentially, he's like saying, like, is it? Like, yeah, what else did you think this was? Exactly what you know. He thought it was going to be something more epic than that.
Some grand quest, and it's just like, no, I mean, you'll like, like, that was one of the cooler scenes, because it kind of got you to think about kind of the finite nature of, like, mortality, and that, like, yeah, you live and then you're dead, so, like, I mean, do things that matter while you're alive, but, like, while you're dead, it's not gonna matter as much. So, you
Yes,
know,
it's not all it's chalked up to be.
yeah, I mean, make decisions that matter while you can make them, essentially, because, if you're just doing every little decision for glory rather than, meaning, it's not going to mean anything in the end.
Yeah.
Um, which is kind of one of the failings of Galloway's character, is that he was making every decision based on the potential glory that it could bring him, rather than, whether or not it was a meaningful decision to his life. But yeah, so essentially, yeah, as I said, we leave Gawain after the challenge, or after cutting off the Green Knight's head. Everyone claps and applauds him. He's instantly famous around the realm. But at the same time, now he has an obligation to, in a year's time, travel to the Green Chapel and basically offer his own head up to get cut off. So it's kind of like, okay, well, here's your prize, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you guys think about all that?
I mean, I thought it was like really well. The beginning is really well done. And it kind of makes you feel like the rest of the story is going to be much more epic.
Yeah, I was surprised. It was a 2-hour movie, and I was surprised at how fast they moved through some of the opening acts. It went by pretty quick.
I think it was like interesting that they kind of like instantly were melding different religions, like Christianity and like obviously like witchcraft and stuff like that.
Yep, kind of like the paganism of everything. Yeah, like apparently they wear, some of the knights wear like a 5-pointed star in their on their uniform, and apparently that stands for like each of the uh ancient like chivalric values. Like I had them written out somewhere, but let's see if I can pull it back up. Yeah, like friendship, generosity, chastity, courtesy, piety, and essentially, like if you can kind of follow each of these virtues through the movie, Gawain kind of succeeds and fails at each of them in a certain way. Like it's really funny how, like, I'm not gonna say he's a terrible knight, but he kind of is. Like he kind of skirts through or just pass fails like each of the challenges kind of put in front of him up until the end, when he entirely fails one.
He just seems like overall like he's a fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny actually.
His
August.
character's a total fuck.
There was I heard his mother carved something on a little wooden thing and put it into like a cloth belt. Is that the same sigil thing you were talking about? I didn't understand.
No, I
that
was just
part.
talking about the little like 5-pointed star that a lot of
Yeah,
the
but I'm
knights
saying
wear.
that's what I thought I saw her carve into that little like wooden chip thing that she put in.
I
Nah,
can't remember.
she just carved some
I thought it was like a
bullshit
rune that
into
she
it.
carved on, and I can't remember if
Okay,
she
I
carved a
wasn't too
star.
sure about that.
It was just like a little tiny piece of wood, and she just carved some runic bullshit into it, and then put it into
Okay.
the sash.
Yep, that's what I saw.
Okay.
But yeah, so like, essentially, the movie kind of skips forward, basically half the
1
year,
year. 1 year.
and then it's nearing kind of Christmas. So he basically has to live up to his obligation now to go meet the Green Knight. So he kind of starts gearing up for the journey. Eventually he sets out. There's some great scenes with that. Like there's a scene of him just like leaving Camelot by horseback. And all the children are like trying to get him not to leave, which is really cute. But he kind of like totally ignores them. And then the farther and farther he gets, and like at first you kind of see him as like he's kind of like putting
He's
on a
trying to
brave
be like
face.
stoic about it.
Yeah, but the farther he gets from like the town, you actually see how terrified he is, and he's just doing what he has to do to keep moving. Like the reason he's not stopping is because if he stopped, he wouldn't he wouldn't keep going.
Yeah. Well, we have to highlight that before he left, he was given the sash by his mother.
Oh
She
yeah,
said it would protect him. And he now carries the Green Knight's axe to bring back
Yes,
to the Green Knight.
Right.
Yep. He travels. He leaves. Actually, they give him like a full knight's kit. So like they give him like chainmail and a sword and a horse.
Money.
Yeah, money. He's like fully outfitted for a kind of a quest like adventure. Which is
An
funny
Arthurian
because like in the
quest,
immediate
if
next
you
scene
will.
he gets robbed and like loses half of it.
Yeah, by like a couple of kids.
By like a couple of kids. So really showing off that combat prowess.
Yeah.
Well, they trick him. The kid tricks him, right?
Well,
Kind of.
yes.
Like one of them jumps on him, and he pretty much kind of gives
Well,
up
because
after that.
he was like going through that like battlefield, and the kid is like, he was asking the kid something, and then the kid mentions like the Green Tower. The kid's like, oh yeah, just go to this like lake and follow it, and you'll go right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you guys
yeah.
talk
So,
about the puppet show?
yeah. Go talk about the puppet show if you want.
Okay, so after it cuts to a year later, and he's like a hero, there's like a cryptic little puppet show that keeps playing, where it shows him beheading the Green Knight, and then it shifts, and the next time you see the puppet show, it's the Green Knight beheading him,
Yeah, that's
and
kind of what
all
I
the children
mentioned.
just watching in horror.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mentioned with the fact that he earned his glory, but like, what was it all for? If like even the man on the street sees that it was kind of a bum deal.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's famous now, so
Yeah. Oh,
For a year at least.
short hair girl tries her best to get him to stay with her and not leave on the quest.
She's
Yep.
Yeah.
literally the smartest person out of all. She's like, listen, you don't have to go.
And she like gives him like the bell from her dress to like remind him.
Yes, to remind him, yeah, of her.
But she's right though.
But he
She just
doesn't-
stayed.
She straight up says, "Hey, why don't you just marry me instead, and we can just be happy?"
And he
He's
just doesn't
like-
say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of, as I said, he's kind of a fuckboy. Like, be it for the reason that he's a knight and he doesn't want to be seen as marrying a prostitute, or he's just generally not that in love with her. He's
Well-
kind of just like, yeah, like she basically asked him to marry her, and he just
Yeah.
doesn't say anything.
I have in my notes, short hair asks him to marry her. He rejects her like a Chad. Just kidding. He actually says nothing, and this movie is testing my patience.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm so sick of these moments of him just like staring and saying nothing at this point, and
Oh,
the movie's
boy.
like only just begun.
If you're sick of that, or if you were
My
sick by
my
that
descent
point,
into madness is very clear in my notes.
Just any moment where he has an opportunity to prove himself to be like a knight, he just completely and utterly fails.
Or a person, just to prove himself a person.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I think failure is a big part of the movie. Like, there's some very clear opportunities where he's given the chance to make the knightly choice the first time, and it's like he doesn't he never makes it on the first time. He
No.
makes it maybe the second or third time, but like he's not a first opportunity kind of guy.
No.
But you know, by the way, like when you're at the battlefield too, you have to realize that, like, you know, that guy that was like there, he wasn't really, obviously he wasn't really looking for his brothers. He was literally just trying to go and just steal from all the dead bodies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So the next scene is he
was
basically
looting.
he comes across a battlefield. There's a bunch of dead bodies, and he meets a kid there, that is basically looting
He's
dead
clearly,
bodies.
Yeah, looting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So clearly.
And the kid like acknowledges him and gives him like a random sob story about how like his brothers went off to war and they're probably on this field somewhere.
And he's trying to find him.
And then he gives him like a tip that the Green Chapel's like across a stream. And he's like,
And
"Is my
like,
tip not worth anything
yeah,
to you?
Gowan
Is my
basically
information
completely ignored him the
worthless?"
whole time, and it wasn't until like the kid practically had to beg for like a reward for his advice. That
He just,
Gawain was like,
tossed
"Oh
him, like,
sure, I'll
one
give you
coin.
Yeah,
something."
Well,
Gawain's very selfish.
Yeah, like his generosity meter is at kind of like a 0.
So-
Yeah,
So I
like,
don't- I don't know if you guys felt it as well, but as soon as that kid entered the screen, I was like, this guy's a scumbag.
Oh, it
Of
was
course
so
he's
obvious.
looting a battlefield.
Right.
Yeah, no,
And
And he was
he's.
just like throwing arrows and not like caring what was like what he was
Um,
doing.
Where's my notes? Oh, creepy kid playing in the field of corpses and looting things. Starts
He
a
just didn't seem
sob story
affected
for
by it.
Gawain, unaffected by any real emotion other than the sob story. I said, "Oh, I hate this kid," and he
Uh,
seems greedy.
Well, I don't personally. I don't think he should have given him the guy the kid money.
Well, I mean, but that would have been the
It was an
kind
exchange of
the
goods,
courteous thing to do.
The
information
honorable thing to do.
for
That
money.
Yeah, it
would've
would have been the honorable thing to do.
So
Because he was given advice. He was given a direction as to the chapel he was looking for.
but,
It was-
Did he know the
hope for
advice
help.
was bad? No, not yet. But I mean, that would have been the good Samaritan thing to do.
but you see how him doing the Good Samaritan thing got him fucked in the end because of the fact that he gave him money. He's like, oh, this guy has money.
Yeah,
No,
but
he didn't know
that's not a knight's behavior. Like a knight doesn't do things because of something else. He does things because of the virtue of them.
The kid was already
nature of
the
it.
kid was already going to screw him over. The kid took one look at him and he knew this is my prey.
Fresh meat.
Yeah, because he told him to go across the stream and then he asked for money because he already knew across the stream his buddies would be there to, capture him and take all his stuff anyway.
Yeah, I mean, makes you wonder what kind of shortcut he took to get there before the man on a horse. But still,
yeah, but the knightly thing to do would have been to pay him for his service, and Gawain just completely ignores that because he's too up his own ass to care.
Yeah,
he just keeps saying thank you,
and he
then
actually
finally
thinks that the
talks to
Green
Gawain.
Chapel is near. What an idiot!
Yeah. Still got that's it was still like a 5 days journey away.
Yeah, at least.
yeah, wait, did they say that before he left?
They said it was
I don't think
far.
anyone
They
actually
said it
ever
was a
told him where the Green
far-
Chapel is. I think he just had a general idea of what direction it was in.
Yeah, they just said it was far,
Said, I'm going north.
basically.
Basically, yeah.
All right, I guess I'm going north. Well, I mean, even though the kid screwed him over, and I was a little annoyed that there was no stream that he was next to, But like when they
There
actually
was,
found him,
didn't he? He gave the horse some water.
He crossed the stream.
Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. I'm remembering now. Yeah. My God. He even though that wasn't the right, well, possibly the wrong direction, but he still found his way. It was still the right direction ultimately, which is kind of strange. I don't know.
Sort of.
It seemed like it was sort of fated to be.
Oh yeah, this whole thing's about destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and
wrong
this whole
destiny.
movie
kind of a hero's journey.
Is destiny.
Yeah, legit
Yep.
destiny.
He will always find his way to the Green Chapel.
What I
he
kind of
will
wondered at the end
always
was that
die to the Green
towards the end of the movie. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but
let's
the kid shows up later, and you wonder is the kid a ghost or is the kid just always just hanging out at that battlefield? But I guess I won't spoil too much by going too far.
Well, so the thing is, obviously after he gets there, he gets to the point and his friends ambush him. The part where they tie him up and all that, and they take his stuff, and the kid looks at him and he's like, "I'm gonna finish the quest for you." And he's like, "How does he know what quest he's holding the axe?"
He's famous. He's
Yeah,
Wayne.
I think they would know.
So the impression I got from that scene was that kind of the kid was originally planning on killing him, but the axe was enchanted to protect him at least until he got it to the Green Knight. So the kid decides to run off with the axe instead or something like that. But yeah, that is a weird scene.
Yeah, because
I thought that the kid was just trying to humiliate him by taking his stuff and just trying to finish the journey for him.
well, kind of, but I think it was ultimately a way of the gods or something trying to test him or some shit. But I mean, it seemed very intentional. That,
Yeah.
Well,
Destiny.
he gets robbed, right? And he gets left to die, and we get a shitty fake out scene of him dying.
I was so mad. I was like, if this movie fucking just already shits its pants at this part, I'm gonna be so mad. Anyway,
Right? And so the kid takes his sash, takes his axe, and he's like, I'm gonna go kill the Green Knight instead. He. But then
So I
he
think
ends up
kind
putting
of
all
one
that
of
stuff
the
back.
yeah I think kind of one of the
So the kid ran off and died essentially.
Well, but like as I said, you see the kid later, so like you're not even sure how the kid is tangentially related to this.
But you
like
don't
you
see the
assume
kid
you assume the
later.
mom set this all up, but I don't think she had anything to do with the kid.
You don't see the kid later. That's the thing.
You don't
No,
see
you
it.
do. You see him
Oh
in the
yeah,
field.
he's in the battlefield.
No.
Well, no.
That's-
Okay, that's a spoiler.
yeah,
that's spoiler stuff.
that's-
You can't talk about that. You can't
No,
talk
no,
about
no.
that. Spoiler
See,
stuff.
yeah.
We gotta keep going. Gotta keep
All
pushing.
right, fine. We'll get to that point because I swear you saw the kid again
No,
later.
you're right, but like
You're
we'll
right,
get it,
but
we'll get
you're-
into it once we get.
You're
there.
right, but you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, I see what's going on.
You're
Yeah,
right,
you're
but-
wrong. I'm
but-
sorry, August.
But we'll get into
Oh,
it.
okay.
We'll
All
get
right.
into it.
Okay. Yeah. Then we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah. So he loses all his knightly stuff. So he loses his like chainmail, his sword. Well, he doesn't lose his sword. He leaves his sword once he escapes the bindings, but he loses his chainmail. He loses his like money. He loses the axe. He loses his horse. Eventually he decides instead of like they basically left him to die all tied up. Gawain eventually decides to get off his ass and not die all tied up. So he crawls over to his sword and cuts his way out of his bindings. From there he's basically on foot. I'm trying to remember, where does he travel to next? Does he just keep heading down
stumbles
the street?
across a house where he like finds a place to sleep.
Oh yes. So
the girl from the Flag Smashers.
Yep. So he meets like Saint Winifred or whatever, which is basically a whole nother Arthurian era myth they mixed into this. But yeah, he basically comes upon a house in the woods. It's basically empty. There's no one living in it. He decides to sleep there for the night. In the middle of the night, this woman wakes him up. He's a little freaked out, but he's like, "What do you want? Sorry about staying in your house. I'll leave if you want." And he's like, "No, I need." She's like, "No, I need your help. Um, I need you to retrieve something for me." He's like, "Okay, fine, sure." So they walk over to this lake that's right outside the house. And she's basically like, "Yep, I need." It's really funny because like he goes to poke her because she's like moving around weird to see if she's real.
Yeah,
and
he was talking to her in the house, and like all of a sudden it looked like she floated towards him.
She
He
was
like,
levitating. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes to poke her, and she's like, "What are you doing? Don't
Don't
poke
touch
me.
me."
I should know better." And it's really funny because when they get to the lake, she basically reveals that she's been dead anyway. So he was kind of right in that, like,
Yeah.
she was a
Yeah, 'cause
spirit.
she asks him to go get her head in the lake, and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, I may look like I have a head, but it's actually down there."
Yeah. He's like, I don't have a head, but I don't have it. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I know it doesn't make it's she's like, yeah, I know it doesn't make sense, but I don't have a head.
Yeah, and he's like, "So wait, are you a spirit or are you alive?" And she's like, "What difference does it make?
Yeah.
Just go get my head."
And clearly she.
And then he's like, "Am I gonna get anything out of this?" And
Yeah,
that's
so
another
that was the
example
real
of
kind of
him.
fuckboy thing that he did, where
Yeah, that's
basically
another
like
example of him failing.
she
like,
was asking him for a favor, for her like immortal soul, and he's like, "What's in it for me?" And
like-
she's basically like, "Why would you ask that, you dick?"
yeah, that's
Yeah.
like again, like that's another example of him failing to do something virtuous and altruistic.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's basically like he's supposed to be, just like living for the people and being
Yeah.
Selfless.
I mean, this
Yeah,
whole like
And I
not
mean, he
to-
eventually like does it. Once he realizes like how much of a dick he's being, he eventually does it. But again, it wasn't his first instinct to do. He was just like, "What's in it for me?"
I mean, I think he mistakes her for what is a dead person gonna give you anyway? What is a spirit going to do for you?
Yeah, that's
Does
a
he
good point.
think that she's
I mean,
alive?
I don't know. That ghost is looking mighty thick.
She's gonna
But
give him the power to float.
yeah,
Flag smash.
yeah, it was a little like, I mean, again, he doesn't display the stereotypical virtues of a knight at first instinct. He was always about like what's in it for himself.
Right.
Until he realized that, I mean, don't be a dick. So he goes and he does it. He hops in the lake. He fetches her head, which is just a skull by now, at the
Yeah.
bottom of the lake.
Like pubic hairs on it.
But he basically, so he comes up. The spirit's no longer there. He brings up the skull. He goes back to the house. There's now like a full skeleton in the bed he was sleeping in, which was super weird, but
Yeah, that was.
whatever.
Makes you think, like, was it there the whole time?
I know, right? Was he just sleeping on her skeleton and
Cuddling.
didn't notice?
Well,
Scooting a
can we
skeleton.
also talk about how like when he jumped into the lake, like for some reason it just started glowing red, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, and like it was flipped upside down.
It was flipped upside down, and it was weird that someone's like, oh, he can't see underneath the water. Let's turn the lights on,
And it was
Let's do it.
really, really deep.
It was very deep.
Oh yeah, it was super deep. It was like in like what 30 feet or something like that. It was
for
crazy.
like a small.
Yeah, and when he
looking
came
tiny
back up, he
pond.
was like fine. He didn't seem like
Yep.
he was fighting for air. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, he was down there for a minute too. But yeah, so there was just weird cinematography things that they wanted to do. I think they just wanted some shots with some funky lights.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
every single scene, they go chapter by chapter. Every single damn scene, like the last when he gets robbed, and obviously they show like him being dead, but they spin the camera around trying to be all fancy
yeah.
and shit,
Yeah, looking
Like,
up at the top of the trees,
showing
right?
the skeleton of his body, and yeah, obviously you could cut that out of the movie and it wouldn't change this.
oh no, not at all. As I said, I think they just wanted to do some kind of avant-garde, fancy stuff with kind of the camera and the perspective and the audience. But yeah, there's a lot of kind of unnecessary flair that the movie had. But yeah, so essentially he reunites the s- the skull with the rest of the skeleton. Um, I don't think the spirit ever shows back up, but basically, like you hear her voice, telling him that the Green Knight is someone he knows and that he'll meet, which was kind of a hint, and that this was all set up from the beginning. I don't think he ever really picks up on it, but like the audience is supposed to kind of pick up on it.
Well, I was like, I spent the rest of the movie like, is he gonna encounter someone?
Yeah, and he so according to the original poem, he does. And actually, according to the movie, he does too, but it's like super subtle. Like, apparently, I was reading one of the articles about the movie, and there's like a small voice change scene where like you hear the actual character who plays the Green Knight's voice, and then it transitions to the Green Knight's voice, but it's like in one really small scene, and it's super subtle, so like you might not pick up on it.
Right.
There's two scenes like that.
Yep. But essentially the thing he like, even though he didn't even though she never said that she'd give him a reward for returning her head to her body, he does find the axe in the house. Which again is never really explained other than that, again, there's more things going on outside of his purview than he sees.
Ghost magic. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
It's like, hey,
Yeah, well,
here's your reward for doing
Just
the
like a
thing.
quick note on that too, like if you were watching it, like seemed like the night turned into day pretty quick too. So I don't know if like that she had anything to do with that too.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that, but like as I said, the axe showing back up in the house after the kid had stolen it was a little suspicious. Like you
That was
wonder how
weird.
the axe got there.
Yeah.
But he is reunited with the axe, so he is able to resume his quest to meet the Green Knight. So he goes and he leaves the house.
That's where he
He
befriends the fox.
Yeah. So in the next scene, he's basically kind of questing over land to get to the Green Chapel. He meets a fox kind of halfway through his travels in a cave. He tries to shoo the fox away, but the fox wants to come hang out, so he's like, sure, whatever.
He throws a rock at it. But apparently
Yep.
that's how you befriend CGI foxes, is you
It
throw
is.
rocks at them.
Yeah. It's the tsundere approach.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just thought it was weird though, like, yeah, that the fox, like, he sort of was like, oh yeah, I'll hang out with you, and the guy's just like, oh yeah, this is perfectly fine.
I'd
Um,
hang out with that fox. It was adorable.
well, yeah, but
It was.
like, I'm not saying like he's weird for hanging out with the fox. I'm just saying like how comfortable he is, like meeting a random fox that's obviously stalking.
Oh, it's fine. It was only there when he got out of the spring and then followed him into the mountains.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, really, that part doesn't 100% make sense, but anyway, like
It does later.
obviously you skipped a lot of cinematography porn that they had going on.
Oh yeah, like with the giants. Are you talking about that?
Yeah, so
No, that
in
happens
one of the next
next.
scene. There's a scene where like
He befriends the fox, and then he falls down a little hill, and he's
Oh, yeah.
starving to death, and he eats the mushrooms, and then he
Yeah.
hallucinates his ass off.
Yeah, he hears like the loud stomping, and then he sees like
Sees the
all
Green
the
Knight.
giants.
So,
Oh
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think the giants were part of the hallucination. I legit think they were actually just giants that
Yeah.
were part of the story.
Oh,
I thought
okay.
so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it.
This is like where it starts to kind of world build, and it's like, oh, this is not just a regular kind of normal world. There is magic, you know. There are like mystical.
The only hint that the giants are real is that the fox reacts to them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny because I was reading an interview with the director, and they were basically saying that like they just wanted like a weird scene somewhere in the movie, so they kind of stuck that in there, but it was super awkward directing that because it was just a bunch of like random naked women walking around a room, and they had to like point them in different directions.
Yeah, I was.
They all look
One
like
with
the
a
same
giant
woman.
baby suckling.
I was like,
They
oh,
kind of did too. Oh yeah, and the reasoning they gave for why the giants weren't wearing clothes was because, well, the people of King Arthur's time wouldn't be able to make clothes of that size. And I'm like, well, why would the giants be able to make their own clothes? But like, also, how would they have materials for it? So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Tech on Titan, pretty much.
It was my little like cliff note was, oh, okay, I guess we got naked giants with their titties out, and now they're singing.
Yep. I was reading a review for the
Followed by,
movie.
what the hell is this movie?
Yeah. Well, so one of the interesting things you see in the scene is that, like, when he goes to ask one of the giants to ride on their shoulder across a valley, because of course he does that, because I mean, this man's all about taking shortcuts.
Yeah, he is.
The fox goes to try to protect him when the giant reaches down at him. So, like, that kind of gives you a little hint into that the fox is more tied into uh Gawain and Gawain's backstory than I think even he realizes, but that's kind of just a small tidbit for later.
Yeah, he's like a spirit guide.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. Like the fox is very protective of Gawain.
So yeah.
But yeah, so I mean essentially he trips on mushrooms, he meets some giants, kind of all in a day's journey or a couple days journey, until he's
Stuck on a
barely hanging
railing.
on there, and then he stumbles across a castle kind of in the middle of the woods, where he meets our next two most important characters, the Bertilacs, Lord and Lady Bertilac, which basically kind of take him in, half starved and almost on his deathbed from not having eaten any food or had anything to drink for a couple days.
And eating poison mushrooms.
And eating poison mushrooms.
Are they a couple?
Yeah,
thought
they
they
are.
were.
They're the
Yes,
Lord and Lady of
Lord and
that
Lady.
castle. Yep.
Yeah. And Grandma.
Yep.
It was
All
Lord,
right.
Lord, Lady, and Grandma.
they never say what she is. They just imply that she's like, I think she's
Yeah.
She's essentially like a obviously magic, but she might be like
No,
a seer or something.
he
You're
the
talking
old
about the
lady.
lady with the cloth on her face?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, the
eyes?
white cloth who
That's
always wore white.
it seems like that's a mark of like a witch in this universe, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, she's probably like their resident sorceress.
Sloth's
Yeah.
grandmother.
yeah, and
Yep.
like his mom is communicating with her.
Yeah.
Telepathically.
Well, something's going on with that backstory. We're never really kind of given the other side of it, but yeah, there's probably some links to his mother.
There's subtle stuff. There's subtle stuff. Like she's always watching him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's always cucking him.
Even though she has a
Well,
blindfold on, so it's like, how is she watching him?
yeah.
Well,
But yeah, she's definitely in the room. She's present in the room for a lot of weird stuff, even though like
Yeah.
you'd think that she wouldn't be in the
Uh,
room for that. But yeah, so some backstory on the Bertilax. Essentially, he gets there. The Lord Bertilac is super excited to have him there. He already knows who he is. It's like, you're going, you're uh the Green Knight Challenge guy. Like, you're famous in these parts. Yada yada yada. Like it's we have about 4 or 5 days till Christmas. The Green Knight's Chapel is only about a couple miles from here. You can stay here until Christmas, and you can leave Christmas morning. So they're like, he's like, take some time to rest, enjoy yourself while you're here. Hang out with my wife. She's nice. Uh, Essentially, like, I'll go out and hunt during the day every day. You stay here and recuperate. Um, he basically
I'll give you
he asked for
everything.
like one promise though of Gawain, that basically anything he's given as a gift during the day, um, while he's away hunting at their castle, that he presents in front of uh Lord Bertilac at night. That was kind of like it, that's kind of it's basically kind of like testing his like courteous virtue and his honesty virtue. So you now deal with this whole side story of like Lady Bertilac trying to seduce him while her husband's away, and like it's funny because like she goes to kiss him and he gives her a kiss on the cheek. And then because of their wager about returning things at night, he gives like Lord Bertilac a kiss on the cheek as well that same night. There's some funny scenes with that.
Oh, there's also the photography.
Oh yeah, there's that was really cool. She like took a picture of him. Like, she asked if he wanted his portrait made, and he's like, I've already had a portrait painted of me. He's like, she's like, not like this, you haven't. And like she basically like develops a whole photograph of him. Like, you get the feeling that like I don't. You get the feeling that like whatever Lord and Lady Bertilac are into, it's got some like weird magical and scientific overtones, and that they know a lot more than the average person for whatever reason. Like, she has a book with like all the planets and everything like
She has this
Yeah.
giant
in
library
alignment.
that she's like read every book.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems like that's
What
the other
is it?
the other thing too is like everyone kind of you always get the sense that everyone knows what's.
Oh, 100%. I
I mean,
I think that was one of the kind of funniest parts of the movie, in that like it seems like everyone in the story has kind of more of an understanding of the world around Gawain than Gawain.
here. My notes is horny girl traps Gawain in the library, gives him a book, and then takes his picture.
Yep.
Photographs are in this universe? Question mark.
Yep. Yep.
And she takes his bell.
Oh yeah, so
Oh yeah.
that was the other thing. His girlfriend gave him a bell as a good luck charm for his journey. And essentially, when asked about it, he denies that it's from his girlfriend or a girl of any kind. And since he basically says it doesn't matter or is not willing to say what it's about, she basically just steals it from him. And rather than, defend his girlfriend's honor or really just try to keep, his own possessions, he's just like, yeah, sure, I guess. Kind of a pussy, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
I think he just, was like, it's weird because he was also like, I feel like he was debating whether he should like be on.
Yeah, I got that sense too.
And just sort of like,
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was still something that was given to him as a gift. So I mean,
It was just more of him sitting there and staring.
But I think
yeah,
he took
rather
that
than
just
him
to-
being responsible for that,
staring.
he's just too passive about it.
yeah, I mean,
I don't think he had any sentimental value with that belt, though. He just I feel like he took it just so she would stop talking to
yeah,
him.
he really doesn't care about more of a girlfriend.
No.
I think she's literally a whore.
She is literally.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I think she is
Yeah.
too. I think he met her at the brothel.
I think
but like
it's
the
literally
the
a
point
brothel.
the point of the case was that like rather than take ownership of something given to him as a gift, he kind of just lets it be taken from him.
I feel like just kind of going back to that meeting that he had with her before he left. Didn't he say something like "There will always be money for you" or something? Does anyone remember that? Like there will always be coins for your bed or something.
I don't remember him saying that. I remember her saying that like I remember her saying I already have your money. But
Yeah.
I don't remember him saying anything specifically like that.
Okay.
Right, because
she
pays
said
him.
he already has his money.
Yeah, for the sex.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I'm remembering that part wrong.
Oh, and then we shifted to the weird fireside chat with the old man, the blindfolded granny, and horny McHorny lady.
Yes.
And more whispering ensued. I literally could not hear anything in this scene.
Yeah, she was describing something about the color green, and I couldn't hear.
Yeah,
anything.
it was something green something.
Yeah.
You can never go back something, and I was like, yes, this seems important. What is it?
It was some really dumb. I did hear it. It was basically some kind of really dumb analogy about how like green is the color of like rot and death, but it's also the color of life.
Yeah. And asking if the Green Knight was born green or if he became green. And
oh, right.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like once you understand the story from kind of an outside perspective and know who all the characters are and know who the Green Knight is, like you're wondering if like she's doing all this on purpose. At the same time, another analysis I read of the scene was basically like, and the reason she's trying so hard to seduce Gawain, and my God, does she try hard to seduce Gawain while he's staying there, is that basically she can't get pregnant through her husband, so she wants a baby and she's trying to seduce Gawain to get pregnant through him. I don't know if that's what's actually going on, but it's a really good way to analyze basically why things happen the way they do, because it would make sense in their perspective of like why she's giving it extra the extra thirst factor.
Tug.
And Granny was watching.
Yeah. So essentially, we move on to one of the final scenes of him being at the Bertilak's castle, where she basically kind of full on jumps on top of him. She offers him this. She offers him this like green sash.
It's his sash.
It's his sash,
she offers him his
So
sash.
yeah, no, so that's the thing. Like I don't know if it was his sash or not.
His sash.
Again, I don't know if you remember this part, but I feel like I saw her making another one of those like engraved little wooden things and sewing it into it. Is that something you guys remember?
No.
I do think that she also
maybe she made one also.
Yeah, because he lost his original one. The kid took it.
Yeah, so
I mean, he lost his axe,
at the beginning of the movie,
too.
his mother gives him a sash that saying this will magically protect you from all harm.
Yes.
And then later
as long as you
on,
wear this, no harm shall come to you.
and then later on, when Lady Bertilak is jumping him, she offers him a very similarly looking sash that basically she says has the exact same effect. So like this movie has a weird kind of
So
narrative where all the things he loses seemingly come back to him, but in manners unrelated to how he lost them. So you're wondering if they're the same things or not. It's very confusing.
yeah, so horny ladies all over him, literally jerks him off, and in his post-nut clarity, he's like, "Damn, I should go."
Well,
calls
okay,
him-
so this is the thing.
No, she
This
says,
is the
and,
thing.
and she says, "And you're no knight."
You're no nut. Is she? And
Yeah,
then
no,
she
no, because
smears
he decides.
his
So, and that's the thing. Like, if you want to take the entire movie as this entire kind of story as a test of his knightly virtues, I mean, clearly he fails in a sense right there. Because I mean,
Yeah.
like that's still getting way too close to someone else's wife who's showing you courtesy.
Right.
And
A
B,
lot of courtesy.
by taking the sash and not honoring the challenge, you're kind of pussying out of the original deal in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Well, he leaves, and then he goes into the forest, and he
yeah, I mean,
encounters the
essentially
Lord of the
that's
Keep.
why she says you're no knight. But what were you saying?
Well, I mean, obviously it was just like a test, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like when it's like they used a lot of like grotesque imagery where like he nuts and then
Oh
she
yeah,
just-
there's a really great scene where he's just
Yeah.
there's just his jizz covered hand.
No, it's
On
her
the
jizz-
sash.
Yeah, it's her jizz covered hand, isn't it?
No,
it's his.
No, it
It's
is.
his hand.
It's his clutching the sash.
That's It was kind of disgusting. It was
It was
It
gross.
really
Yeah.
was.
like
And I have it in my notes. It's like with his
Those damn
post-nut
practical
clarity
effects,
and his
man.
cum-covered sash, he heads out back into the forest.
Yep. A lot of some of the comments I read about the movie were comparing it to like a scene from like Evangelion. Like I haven't seen the end of Evangelion movie, but I think there's a scene where Shinji does something similar.
Not really, but
nuts on a picture of.
nope. Nope.
Okay, never
He
mind.
nuts on an unconscious girl.
Oh,
Even better.
Asuka is unconscious on a hospital bed after like a
in a
ridiculous battle.
hospital.
Yes, that she barely won, and he just whips his dick out, looking at her like unconscious body, gets horny, and masturbates.
And then he just
When you gotta
nuts
go,
on
you
her
gotta
or something?
go.
Jesus
And he
Christ.
nuts on the unconscious girl. Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah, and that's way worse.
Evangelion.
pretty metal.
Definitely brave.
But anyway, so our hero, he heads out into the woods, leaving the keep behind, and he encounters the Lord of the Keep in the forest. And he's like, "Oh, hey, where you going, bud?" Like, I was gonna get you all these gifts,
Oh, right.
you know? And he's like, "No, I don't need any of this. I need to go to like the chapel now. I don't have time to be here." And he's like, "Oh, well, I've given you all these things. Do you not have anything to give to me?"
Yeah,
And
because
he
they had made their promise that anything he was presented at the castle, he would present to Lord Bertolac at the end of the day.
And so
Lady
the
Bird.
Lord kisses him.
That was so unexpected.
Well, so like I take it to like I kind of understood that scene to mean that like he understood that his wife was trying to get with him for whatever reason. The big thing was that like I think he also understood like the more subtle thing was you also wonder if the Lord also knew that he was given the sash too, and that it was basically because he basically says that like I know you were given something too, and I could take it if I wanted.
Yes.
But he's just like, no, I have to go, and he leaves.
Yeah.
But like he's basically says that like I don't want any more of your gifts. I just want to leave. But the thing is by not showing him the belt that he was given, That's how he finally kind of fails the last courtesy challenge, in that he was basically told that, like, as long as, like, anything that you're given during the day you present that night, and because he's so afraid of the Green Knight in his upcoming challenge, he decides to lie about getting the belt. And again, that's one of the things that kind of finally tarnishes his honor.
Well, I mean, does that mean that he'd have to like make the Lord nut as well?
I mean, it depends
Technically-
how literally you want to take it,
I
but
mean, it seemed like
so that wasn't. So that was more forced than a gift, right? Like of
No,
his
it looked
own
like it looked
of
like
his
he
own
stole that
accord,
gift.
he had kissed the lady on the cheek.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like. Oh no, he at one point he was fine, like, oh yeah, no, I just want it.
the Lord was like, "Yeah,
He was
dude,
talking
I'm
about
gay,
the
bro."
stash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that
But
was that was like the. I don't know what was going on. That was a very confusing dynamic. Like,
it was just the whatever she gives you during the day, you give to me at night.
dude, it was just your average swinger couple trying to get him in on it, but
And
he just wasn't
grandma.
feeling it.
like, yeah, and
Grandma
Because
watches.
grandma
cucked him.
watched him nut. No, grandma watched him nut.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
She
she was in
sensed
the
him
scene
not-
at the same. She
He
was
was
in
right
the
there.
room at
By
the
the
same
way,
time that.
Why did she have pigtails? I was like, you're too old for pigtails.
I mean, maybe they're. I don't know. I don't want to elaborate.
Yeah, no, it was that literal the same scene where Lady Bertolac jumps him, like
Yeah.
after he
Well,
nuts and she gets
Grandma was
off,
there.
like Grandma's just in the room behind her. That was
Like-
definitely creepy.
Yeah.
The most action I've gotten in years.
So anyway, the Lord of the Keep kisses our hero, and then he's like, "Oh, I was gonna give this to you as a gift today, but I guess we'll just let it go free into the forest instead." And Foxbro is back.
Yeah.
He had captured Foxbro, and so I have in my notes in all caps, "Foxbro is back." Fuck yeah, movie saved.
Foxborough was pretty cool. Also, you know what else is like something that they kind of had been using as a theme, every here or there, that they kind of. No, actually, they did use it, like, but they didn't use it at every beat in the movie. But obviously the colors is like really huge thing about the
Yes.
movie. Like,
Yeah.
definitely the color green, and also the color yellow.
Yeah.
Because like as you see, like once when he's starting the journey, he hits a crossroad, and you notice that all like the plants or whatever are green, or I'm sorry, are yellow, and that's like a little detail that was like a cinematography thing.
Yeah, it's as lifeless as this movie.
What?
Nothing.
His life was this movie.
No, I said
Wait,
the scenery was as lifeless as this movie because it's always just like dead trees and dead plants and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I
so-
think it has to do with cowardice.
Yeah.
yellow has to do with cowardice.
Well, we didn't
I
even
guess that
talk
makes
about
sense.
him coming across the skeleton in the cage at the crossroads.
Oh yeah. But I felt like he just walked by it. He didn't like pay attention to it, did he?
Oh, he paid attention to it. He
Yeah.
looked at it for a while. He was like, "Ugh, okay.
So yellow.
Well then."
Yellow might mean death then. That's why he's wearing the yellow sash, and that's why, there's when he sees the yellow, it usually means that there's death coming around. I don't know.
I thought the sash was green.
I'm sorry, not
His
his
sash was
sash.
green.
I'm sorry, his cape.
His cape.
Oh yes, okay.
His cape is the same color as the flowers, and also the same color as the hue.
I
and
just
yellow.
think they picked yellow for the cape because it contrasts really well with green.
Yeah,
And
I
the
think
other
that
colors.
too. I don't think there's any super deep meaning to it, personally.
Damn it, man! I want
Sorry.
there to be. I think there is, but I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Oh.
I mean, there is again at the end they do use yellow as well, like
Yeah, in the forest.
everything is a yellow hue, same yellow.
Well, they
hue.
use all kinds of colors. This movie is very color centric, like the red explosion galaxy thing they did when he was in the spring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like the gray hues and stuff like that when he was tripping on the mushrooms
Giants, like the gray
and
cloud.
sees the giants. Yeah, like there was a lot of cinematography colored stuff. Like that was what it was. That's what
Yeah.
most of this movie is. But yeah. So
Um,
so we get Foxborough back, and then we get another title card. We get beheading at the Green Chapel.
I actually couldn't read that.
Ah, yeah, it said a beheading at the Green
A
Chapel.
lot of
Yeah,
them,
I couldn't read that either. That was like the one title card that I had no idea what was going on.
like someone had
Ah.
brought up the fonts, and I was like, every time they changed the font, I was like, I stopped being able to read what was on the.
I had a little bit of an issue, but it wasn't too bad.
It's like I would have to pause it and like really look at it to see what it said, but so I just let it rock and I just kept going.
Yeah. I didn't pause it or anything. I just read it.
Yeah.
But so we're at the home stretch now for, his quest.
Yeah, he's on his way
He comes to
to
a
the
river
Green
he has to
Chapel with
cross.
his sash of immortality
Yeah.
because he's
And
trying
the fox tries to stop him.
he's trying to cheat and find the easy way out. Well, it's not even the fox that tries to stop him. The fox, and like this is why I think the fox was secretly his mother, or at least connected to his mother.
Well,
Is like the
it's not
fox
secret.
asks him to go home. Like it's not even just
The
tries
fox-
to stop
But
him.
if you
The
listen,
fox
if you listen to the
speaks with the
fox's
voice of
voice,
his mother.
yeah, it's like the fox's voice mixed with the mom's voice.
I
Like-
actually thought it was the Green Knight, but
No,
I,
it's literally
No.
straight the mom's voice in the final words of the fox. Where the fox is basically begging, it's just straight his mom's voice for that one like sentence.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And then he swings his axe at the fox, and the fox is like, "Fine, fuck it, whatever. You do you."
Yeah,
But
And
it's
so
also
his mom was the fox,
yeah.
trying to stop him the entire time and guiding him through his journey like the whole time.
But like asking him to go home wasn't the other thing she asked him. She also asked him to leave the belt. Because she knew that if he kept the belt, he would be failing the challenge.
Yeah, that's it.
Which I don't think he understood, obviously, because he doesn't understand that this is all kind of a test. But she kind of implicitly understood. I think because she was the one who set the test up. But yeah, so he neither leaves the belt nor follows the fox's advice to go home. And then we have the
Just
following
crosses
scene.
the little stream, and
Yep.
then we're at the Green Chapel. The Green Chapel looked pretty cool. Like had all the vines and stuff swinging around it. Like,
Yeah, and like a water falling down the steps. No, it was a cool little design for.
And the Green Knight's just taking a casual napski. He's just vibing. He's been there for a year, just waiting.
Resting up for that beheading.
Covered in vines, just
Covered in
chilling.
vines. Yeah.
Just lamping.
So Gwen walks up to him. He's very cautious. He's like, "Whoa, are you there, or what's up?"
You awake?
Doesn't like respond. Doesn't seem to have any kind of response to him moving up, and so he just takes the axe out and sets it like a bit below him at his feet, essentially, and then just sits there waiting for the Green Knight to awake. They kind of have like a staring contest at night because like the Green Knight's eyes are semi-open.
Well, that's just the Green Knight's thing. That's what.
No, he slowly opened his eyes the next day. I think his eyes were closed.
Well,
At night they were open because they were looking at each other at night, and then he wakes up in the morning and he's ready to finish the game in quotes by cutting off Gwen's head.
Very comfortably sleeping some random ass. Like I have no idea how he could sleep there, but
Well,
he's not a knight.
There's more to it than that. So, anyways, okay, so the Green Knight is like, all right, it's time to finish our little game. You remember where you like struck your blow against me? He's like, and now I will do the same to you. So he asks him to kneel. He kneels. He starts like sobbing, and the Green Knight raises the axe.
Well, no, it's funny. Like the
And
Green
our
Knight
brave
asked him-
hero recoils and like cowers. He's like, "No, please
Yeah,
don't."
Like he
The
does that a
Green Knight
couple of
asked him,
times.
he was just like, "Did I display any fear when you took my head?" And he's just like, "No." And he's just like, "Give me a moment. Like 1 year, 100 years, it wouldn't matter. I'm gonna
Yeah.
need a moment."
Yeah, it becomes a
Well,
giant pussy.
the big part was like, after he starts to cry and he basically begs for his life. He's like, "Is this like really all there is?" And being a Sigma male that the Green Knight is, he was like, "What else would there be?"
Yeah,
And then we get a sequence where he
Well,
just runs
it's
away.
one of those things where he made a deal, and now
Yeah.
he doesn't want to honor the deal.
Yeah, he's not holding
Which-
up his side of the deal.
Which is kind of the whole point of it
Because-
all. Like
Because
he
he's being
didn't
selfish. He
have-
doesn't want to die.
He didn't have to behead the Green Knight. It just
Yeah.
had to be a blow. The Green Knight simply offered his head.
he could have just
like,
licked his
he-
arm.
Yeah, he could have just like nicked his arm or his leg, like a little poke. Like it could have been anything, basically.
Did he even actually have to harm him? Could he have given him a hug?
No, it had to be a blow.
Had to
No,
be a
it had to be
blow.
a
It had to be a
blow, I
blow.
think. But,
Okay.
it was just him simply not living up to his end of the bargain or not wanting to live up to his
Yeah.
end of the bargain.
So
Yeah.
our hero, in quotes, runs away valiantly, of course.
Well, okay, so
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so I don't want to spoil it, but yeah. So he runs away, but it's like
Yes.
literally this is after the Green Knight gave him 3 chances to like not pussy out,
Yes.
and on the 3rd time he decides to just be like, you know what, fuck it. Like my honor wasn't worth that much anyway.
Yeah, and so he just books it. And it seems like the Green Knight doesn't care. He's just like, "Okay, cool. You just run away." He finds his horse for some reason.
No, he finds
That's
his horse.
his horse.
Yeah, that's what I said. His horse. He finds his horse for some reason.
Like some
And then
Oh,
he
yeah, I
rides,
thought you said-
and
I
then
thought
he
you said-
rides home. We
I thought
see
you
the
said this
shitty
horse.
kid in the battlefield.
yes,
He gets
the shit
home.
kid.
He's covered in dirt, and his mom bathes him. Weird scene. And then he hangs out with the short hair girl. They have the sex. And Gwen never takes off the sash.
Yeah, he's banging in that sash. He's like,
Yeah, banging
Fuck
in that
yeah.
sash.
The sash stays
He-
on during sex.
Exactly.
got- look.
That's in my note. It says, "Sorry, babe, the sash stays on."
listen, there's 2 things that gotta stay on: the socks and the sash.
And the sash.
knee-high socks.
So, after they bang, it shows another scene. Like we're just like zooming
it's
at
a
this
montage.
point. Yeah, and so we get Gawain being knighted by the king. And
then
the
he
king's
becomes
like
the king.
on his deathbed. The king passes, and then he becomes the king. And
Yeah, he was always the king's nephew, and
yeah,
I guess as the last living
they
relative.
had no children, so
Yep.
yeah. So he took over. Let's see. Oh, short hair
Short-haired as a
gives
kid.
him an heir,
And
and
he steals it.
he just takes the child and leaves money on her bed.
Like, this is my baby now.
And he finds a more suitable wife for himself, which is a woman from like another kingdom.
Yeah,
I thought that it was the what were they called? The Berwicks or what was?
no, it was
The-
not her.
No, it was the different people.
Yeah,
It was different. Okay, I thought it was
It
her.
wasn't the Bertle
I
axe.
think
no.
the one
Turtle
thing
axe.
that, like, the reason why he didn't say anything. Hey,
Yeah.
who's echoing?
Is it me? Might be me.
Yeah, like,
Nope, it's not me.
if you guys could throw some headphones on, just so it doesn't pick
I've
up
got
the
headphones
audio.
on.
Everyone has headphones on, right?
No, not me.
Oh,
Let
no.
me see if I can do
Oh,
it.
there we go.
It's August.
I shouldn't be echoing though. I wasn't echoing the whole stream.
Anyway, so he abandons short hair. He finds a more suitable wife. On their wedding night, sorry babe, the sash stays on too. They have the sex.
Well,
He's given another heir.
Yeah.
And his son goes to war because apparently there's war now. And his son dies at war. He returns from the war, and they throw like dung at him, and you see a very old version of the short hair woman in the crowd, just staring at him. The kingdom's falling apart. He's
Well,
sitting on
did
his
you guys notice how
throne.
the old version of the short-haired woman also looked like Lady Birdalack?
A little bit.
Because they were the
he
same
thought,
actress.
What?
Yeah, Lady Birdalack plays his girlfriend. They were the same actress.
Lady Handawhack.
Yeah, okay. So our hero sits on his throne as the music crescendos and gets louder, and the enemies breach the halls. His wife, his child, etc., like his mom, they all leave. And he takes the sash off, and his head falls off. Boom! It was just a dream.
It was
It was
all
all
a
a
dream.
dream. It was just a flash of what his life could have been like. And
He ran
then,
away.
yeah. And so then, he's still there with the Green Knight. The Green Knight's ready to lop his head off, and he's like, wait. And he takes off the sash. And the Green Knight congratulates him. And then, like, slides his finger across his neck. He's like, now we're gonna finish this.
Now off with
And he
your head.
lops off his head, and we cut to the title.
No, so he doesn't actually lop off his head.
doesn't
He
Oh,
lop
just
it off.
threatens to.
it's implied.
So that's the thing. I think it's
Open-ended.
jokingly applied.
Yeah. It's kind of
I
left,
don't think he was
it's
actually
left open
serious about
to
it.
interpretation.
Yeah, they left it
It-
open to interpretation, but I don't think he was actually gonna do it. A, because that's not how it happens in the original poem, and B is because the Green Knight is smiling when he says it, while he's kind of drawing like a off with your head across his neck.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah, I
could
mean,
be
why else would
considered
he
the blow.
congratulate him? Why else would he congratulate him for taking off the belt? I mean, essentially what it
Because
boils
he
down-
honored his pact, basically, is what I saw it as.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
but-
basically, as soon as he took the sash off, he became a man.
Yeah.
Became a knight.
Well, again, yeah, if you want to take the entire movie as a test of his virtue, which I do, like that was kind of the
Yeah.
final virtuous decision he had to make. Whether
Yeah.
that was kind of the story of the flash forward, was that like what is virtue if it doesn't mean anything? Like,
Yeah,
what
because
is-
he was gonna
like,
he was foreseeing a life of just continued like failure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
failure.
he basically he got everything he ever wanted, but it
But
didn't,
not living
it
up
didn't
to
mean
it.
anything.
wasn't
And he
happy.
didn't live up to it, and nothing he did was successful.
Yeah.
And not only that, was that like he became fearless, but it made all his decisions worse because he wasn't feeling he wasn't personally invested in any of the decisions he made.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time he seemed like he was just lifeless.
He was just
Like,
autopilot.
he was on
just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But the one thing I wanted to bring up that like I know wasn't really mentioned was when his girlfriend asked him to marry him. Obviously, the one thing that wasn't said is, well, he's from nobility, and nobility can't marry commoners.
No,
They can. They can. Yeah. It's frowned upon
It hasn't happened.
because generally you'll want nobility to wed other nobility to expand a kingdom's power
Right.
and influence, but that you can marry who you want. It's just highly unlikely.
Right.
Well, I mean, it would have made him look bad probably to marry a prostitute. Not saying that he could.
Oh yeah, no, it would make him look terrible, but he could do it.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah.
So
I guess you're right.
So, things that this movie, like... So, this movie doesn't explain anything.
No, it doesn't.
And if you don't know the Arthurian tale, then you're kind of lost. Like, the Lord of the Keep, that is the Green Knight.
100%. Yeah, and as I
The
said,
Lord of the
there's
Keep is the Green Knight, and
There's a
he
scene
like
transition where you hear the Lord of the Keep's voice, and then you hear the Green Knight's voice towards the end. When
yeah.
he's talking
So
to
he
Gawain.
wasn't sleeping the whole time. The Green Knight's just kind of like a vessel that he can like go into. Similar to how Gawain's mother basically puppeted the Green Knight for
Well, no,
the
didn't she puppet
Christmas
the
thing.
fox? She
Well,
puppeted
she
the
puppeted
fox.
the fox too, but she did the Green Knight because she had the
I thought the Green Knight
letter and
puppeted.
stuff.
So you're saying the Lord of the Keep, as in the guy with the wife?
Yeah, Lord
Yes.
Bertilac was the Green Knight.
Lord Bertilac is the Green
That's
Knight.
what I thought. Like I had thought that he was for sure the Green Knight. Like, and he popped up. Like, oh, this guy's got to be him. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming he. I don't know. But yeah, it was a little strange.
It was okay. What would you guys rate this movie?
What
I give
scale
it a
are we
6,
using?
6 out of 10. It definitely
Out of
tried
10.
way too hard.
Okay.
1 through
lot of
10. 10 being awesome. 1 being master disguise.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It definitely tried way too hard. A lot.
Yeah, I'd agree with August. I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10, just because it was pretty confusing at times, especially with not knowing some of the mythology to it. So
Well, I would give it a 5. But this movie had no fucking payoff whatsoever.
Okay.
What to me felt like it had no payoff, and it really didn't. Like, nothing interesting really happened. I mean, some things were kind of interesting, but most of the movie was just, I just heard, and I was like thinking that it was gonna be building up to like this really epic moment that like never happened.
So
I don't know.
I-
I did like the ending. I like how he earned back his virtue at the end. I think if you want to take the whole movie as kind of a test of virtue, I like that he eventually passed. By
That's
the seat
fair.
of his pants, but he passed.
Yeah. So I gave the movie a 4 out of 10.
Damn.
I felt like it was just pretentious dribble. I feel like it's designed to gather awards and it doesn't have any real substance to it aside from the cinematography. And even that's not like top tier or anything.
You could probably
Um,
cut a good hour out of this.
You could tell this story in 30 minutes.
Yeah, free.
But instead they stretch it out to 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I definitely agree. It didn't need to be 2 hours. And it's
In my notes, I have like various time points. I'm like, how is this movie still going? Why is this movie still going?
Yup.
Isn't this movie done?
Yup.
It really only has like anything that is not him talking to someone is just completely just cinematography and just filling time. That's it.
Yeah, no,
is there a scene that like one scene for each of you that like stands out as the best moment of the movie, or is there like not one?
the scene that stands out for me as the best moment of the movie is the Green Knight's entrance during Christmas. I felt like that was interesting and well done. Like Green Knight looked very menacing and cool.
I feel like this movie was marketed like completely false marketing.
The trailer was a better movie than the movie.
Yeah, like the trailer.
The
made it
trailer
look
had
like
me
it,
so
I think the
hyped. I
trailer
was
was
like,
more
this movie's gonna be great.
the trailer made it look like it was an action movie.
I feel
The
like
trailer made it look like it
most
was a good movie.
But yeah, the trailer made it look a lot more interesting than it ended up being.
Yeah.
100% agree with that.
Like, I don't know. The
Yeah, I was
movie
expecting like a really badass like adventure movie, but
Yeah. It just felt like a huge waste of time. I
yeah.
literally almost fell asleep at multiple points in this movie.
That's why I said like I messaged you guys. I was like, this movie isn't.
Yeah.
Took their headphones off. August.
No, my headphones are still on.
But yeah, I don't know, man. God damn it. It was me. It was me all along.
You
Oh, it
son
was
of
you?
a... You
Oh,
betrayed
you were
us all.
listening to your stream?
I was listening to my stream, which I always have muted. For some reason, it's not
Wow.
unmuted. God damn it. Anyway,
Wow.
it
Who's echoing?
shut up. Damn it. But yeah, no, I thought the movie pretty much.
I hate that it was all a dream trope.
Yes.
That
fuck
for me
part.
just I was already
yeah,
at like
I
a
was
5
on
out of
board.
10, and then they like did 30 more minutes of this bullshit montage, and I was like, I am so done with this movie.
So,
I
yeah,
struggled to give it a
I was
4.
100% on board with it until the end, where like he does the flash forward, and like he sees his life if he sees his life without honor if he's not willing to die in this one moment, and then he
Yeah.
takes off the sash. I thought the flash forward made no sense thematically because it's just like, where are you getting this future knowledge of your life? Like,
Yeah.
did it take like? Is it like the stereotypical your life flashes before your eyes thing, or like, is it a magical
That's
vision? Did the Green Knight give you this vision?
Well,
It
I
just
think
made no sense.
I think he kind of like in that moment when he was facing the Green Knight, he realized like his shortcomings with the virtues that he was trying to like gain, and so he was picturing those future moments, and that's when he came back and was like, "All right, I accept my fate."
You could take it
Yeah.
as like he realized how precious life.
Yeah.
But-
Well, I mean,
no, I
you
think
could
it's
take
almost the
multiple
opposite.
scenes as kind of like the hero's rebirth. Like the death fake out in the forest, he kind of becomes more like noble and more determined than he was before.
Yeah, I
Because,
think
that
was a test of his willpower.
yeah, like it showed him
And
as like a skeleton, and then it showed him like alive.
yeah, I
You
would
could
say
see
that
that as him being reborn as a more
the death in the
determined
forest was like a
person.
test of his willpower,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
death at the end was a test of his virtue.
Yeah.
But I would still say that like that was a pretty long ass flash forward for like
Yeah.
the thing you see before you die.
Yeah.
Well, you can also see that he possibly died in the spring. That's also a distinct possibility because he like fell in and like sunk, and he just like
Yeah,
closed his eyes,
I can
and
see
it
that.
seemed like he died.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then
as I said, I mean,
I'm alive.
it's one of those things where like I think one of the big themes of the original story was that like it's not necessarily succeeding on your first attempt. It's trying to be the best you can be and trying to be better. And I think
Yeah.
ultimately that's what Wayne learned was that like
Yeah.
it's in trying to be better that we are our best selves. So that's essentially what he did. Like he never passed any of the tests the first time,
Yeah.
but he does eventually pass all of the tests on his final attempt.
So what I learned from this movie is David Lowery movies suck. That's what I learned
Damn.
because I didn't know his background, and it's like Pete's Dragon and shit. And I'm like, wow, I wouldn't
Like
have even
the
remotely.
remake they did like in the early 2010s or whatever.
Yeah, 2016 or whatever.
2016.
Yeah, he was responsible for that.
Okay.
He directed that garbage piece.
Was that the only other thing
Oh.
he's done, or?
No, he did what was it?
He's doing a Peter Pan coming out in 2022.
Fuck that. It's gonna be all
I'm
just
just not interested in
cinematography.
seeing it. I like the visuals of this movie.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
did
if it- if
he
it-
did a ghost story.
I mean, if he's given like an actual story with better
Oh no,
dialogue.
he was just an editor for a ghost story. He did Old Man and the Gun, Ain't Them Bodies Saints. And I only know Pete's Dragon out of those.
Yeah.
And Pete's
as I said,
Dragon was trash.
I like the visual, but the movie could have been more. It could have been a. How do I say this? It could have been a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah. It
Like I
felt
said, it should have just been like a 30-minute movie. It should have been like a short. Like,
I would say it didn't need to be 2 hours. Like 2
it had
hours
no
is
business
reserved
being
for,
2
like, Lord of the
hours.
Rings. Yeah, 100% agree with that.
It just felt like one big tease.
I wish it had cooler like scenery too. Like everything in this movie is like dead, basically. Like he goes through a forest, oh, it's all like dead trees. Goes through another forest, oh, it's like all dead trees. Oh, he like walks through some boring mountains and then sees some giants. Giants are cool. That whole like little area was kind of cool, but there's just not much to this movie. It's hollow.
Yeah,
It looks like it
I would
has
say
a
it's hollow.
lot
I
to
would say it's sparse. There's
well,
just
yeah, I
not a whole lot
guess.
going on other than the kind of
Could
the
have been
main.
a little bit more action somehow.
Like
to make
on the
it just a little more
front,
interesting.
it looks like it has a lot going on, but really it just doesn't.
It just it's literally just pictures.
And just
Yeah.
character
And
development.
montages.
It,
Barely any character development.
Yeah, like none of the characters. I don't like any.
Well, just for him. Just for the main guy.
I mean, even for him, it's fairly like minimal. It's more like they do a more tell than show. Like in most cases we're kind of like told that he seems like more virtuous, and then other times we're told like, oh, he's taking steps back.
Dipshit.
He's a selfish asshole. He's a very unlikable main character. I think.
Well, I mean, like I feel like it's kind of the stereotypical like grew up as a rich kid, didn't have much to do, because he's like the king's nephew. Like it's the stereotypical like
Yeah.
nepotism. Like did he really kind of earn this position spot?
Yeah,
So
it's
as I
true.
said, I think the whole conceit of the movie is that the mom sends him on this journey to wisen up.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does slowly and surely. It takes a while, but he gets there.
Do you
Yeah.
guys think that he died at the end?
I do.
I don't think. he died.
I think he died at the
I
end.
think he died too. I think he died. I don't know why. I just
He doesn't die in the original poem. I mean, granted, they leave it ambiguous in this, but I don't think he died at the end.
I mean, they left a lot of stuff ambiguous in this.
well, I mean, the other thing too is they didn't like. My other problem is that they didn't explain who any of the characters were really. Like,
Correct.
you just had to like know. Like for some reason, they wanted you to just know. Wanted you
Yeah.
to read the book, which is that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I actually listened to a review of it, and I was like, oh shit, that's King Arthur. This King Arthur's nephew. I would be way more interested. They had just explained that.
I'm looking at like the IMDb for it right now because I was kind of curious, and like for example, the Lord is just called the Lord. His mother is just called Mother. The king is just king. The queen is just queen. The Green Knight's just Green Knight, etc. Like, almost no one had their name actually said in the movie.
That is true. Yeah, they're just sort of like people.
Yeah, they're just there. Mom, king, queen, lord, lord in waiting, bishop,
Like I mean, the only thing you could tell is like
wizard.
His mom's a witch, and then they're like, yeah, she's really a witch, and they kind of like beat you over the head with it when he had that fight in the bar.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like, there were the Knights of the Round Table, but the table wasn't round, so I don't know.
Wasn't
man.
it? Wasn't it like a big crescent? I thought it was a
Yeah,
big
it's just a
crescent.
crescent. It was just a crescent.
Yeah.
The Knights of the Crescent table.
Well, you know why King Arthur had a round table, right?
For willing and able.
No. King Arthur had a round table because he didn't want anyone to see themselves as better than another. Because in the traditional table, you have a head of the table, but in a round table, there is no head of the table.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the movie overall, like
It was a lot of style without substance.
exactly, yeah, it has a lot of
It's
potential.
award bait. That's all it is. It's Oscar bait. That's how I'm looking at it.
It definitely,
It's got that taste of just, oh, let's have our movie appear super deep and nuanced and amazing.
What do we
Our,
think of
our
the
characters
acting
will
in this?
just stare and stare without saying anything.
did do a lot of
What do we
fucking
think of the acting in this? Because on the one hand, I want to say I like Dev Patel's acting, the guy who played Gawain.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like he definitely did a lot of just staring.
There wasn't much to act. That's where I'm at. I think I've seen him act in other things and it was fine. I feel like he just, there was nothing there to really act.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, he had his brief moments of, hey, I'm an actor. But for the most part, it was just staring off into the distance or like riding
Yeah.
his horse or just walking with the scenery. That's it.
some of the. It just seemed really stiff when there was acting. But overall, like even when there wasn't acting, yes, I don't know, it seemed super like I don't know, I wasn't too impressed. Like Gwendolyn or something like that, she just strike me. She wasn't very interesting.
Yeah.
Very deadpan.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that was a directorial choice. Like the director was just like, yeah, no, just act kind of aloof and distant.
You know, this movie would have been so much better if it was like a horror movie or something. That would have been dope.
I definitely think they should have leaned into the darker tones of kind of the
Yeah.
Green Knight and the horror aspects. But
Yeah.
I mean, I get that wasn't necessarily what it was about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not. At no point was I ever scared of the. It seems like a cool guy to me.
I
I'm
thought
like, I could probably
He's
I
get
thought
definitely
behind
very
him.
chill.
I thought he looked cool. Like,
Had a cool voice.
he's kind of intimidating. Oh, on the topic of voices. Way back in the beginning of the movie, when the queen is like reading that note and it's like her voice
It's the Green
plus
Knight's
like
voice through her.
the Green
that-
Knight's voice. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you hear her voice also. Why wouldn't they
Well,
just like cut out her voice and just have the Green
Well,
Knight's
the-
voice?
I don't know why they needed the Green Knight.
didn't-
He
they
was
didn't
like
really need
speaking.
it.
He was speaking through her, so
Which
I'm not
I mean,
sure why.
I guess if she has a message and can read it out.
It should have
aloud
just been
and-
either the Queen's voice or the Green Knight's voice. It didn't need to have both voices.
Or
So technically, there was no need for the letter.
tell you what, yeah, because it's like there's a letter,
Technically,
and then
yeah.
the Green Knight just shows up, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" It's like,
You
Well,
don't need to read that. I'm here.
Why did he need to? Why was there a
I don't
letter?
know. It's a weird movie. I would never watch this movie again.
Probably, yeah, I would not.
It
I
is-
might watch it again
Wait,
for
like-
just the cinematography stuff, but like, yeah, as is it for in terms of being a satisfying story, I'd give it like.
If I wanted like cinematography and like scenery and stuff like that, I think I would just watch Lord of the Rings again.
That's true.
Yeah,
That was a pretty movie.
Way better.
Want to see New Zealand?
Come with
All
us.
of it.
Yeah, all of it.
But like, I don't know. See, the thing is, this movie hit that really awful middle ground where it wasn't bad enough that it entertained me. I could really make fun of it,
Yep.
but it wasn't good enough to keep my proper attention.
It was just boring.
So it's just a really boring movie. Yeah, and my notes reflect that. My notes are just like, I am so bored right now. Why doesn't anything happen in this movie? How is this movie still going?
All of my notes are reading too much into things, and like
This movie should have ended like 20 minutes ago. Why is it still going?
yeah, no, this should have been an hour and a half.
Tops.
hours.
Tops.
Why was there no
2
payoff?
hours is ridiculous for this.
Hour and a half tops. Like this hour and like 20 minutes maybe. I don't know. Like they could have easily knocked this thing out. They just stretched out such a thin story.
Yeah, like a
'Cause,
like
the original
Agree.
story of the Green Knight, like the poem, slash the Arthurian tale, it's not long.
No, not at all.
It's short. It's
I
direct.
watched like a 5-minute YouTube video on it, and that
It's
was a lot.
it's fine. It's kind of perfect, honestly.
Wait, so
It's a good. What?
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, it's
there was God damn it. Okay. So see, now that I interrupted, I had something to say and then I forgot it.
oh, fair enough.
It was like it was a good question too.
Happens to be all the time.
Damn it. I hate this.
Anyway, so the poem was very direct
I remember
and clear.
now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, do you think the movie had a payoff?
No, none whatsoever. I felt like that movie was just a complete waste of my time. I never felt any kind of attachment to any of the characters.
Yeah, they wanted you to like him so much, but there's just nothing likable about him.
Yeah, everybody
Exactly.
was a shit.
He was just a shitlord.
Everybody was kind of shit. But like
He took advantage of everyone at every turn.
I mean, the way I was looking at it was like every scene that was happening, I was thinking something more interesting was going to happen than what happened. Like
I kept hoping.
I was like, oh, she found this ghost lady. Is she gonna like scary? Like she, whatever. Is she gonna tell a more interesting story other than, oh yeah, this guy cut my head off? And
Also, was that supposed to be like a twist that she was a ghost? Like
No, she pretty much says it in the opening scene.
Yeah, but this like idiot literally like walks through like this dilapidated house with food so old it's falling apart, goes to sleep, wakes up, and there's a woman. He's like, oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to sleep in your bed, Shirka-durka. You know?
yeah.
He's like, oh, you're totally a living person. And then she's like, oh, could you help me get my head out of the spring? And he's like, oh,
I mean, it's
wait,
hard
you're dead?
until that point. It's hard to tell because she did look alive, you know.
I never had a remote thought that she was alive.
Until she floated,
she was
I
alive
actually
for a
thought.
second. Until she mentioned about her head, I thought she was alive.
When she started floating.
Yeah, when she started floating, that's when I was like, okay, this is.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I immediately thought she's just a ghost because of the house.
But yeah, that's the same girl that is in Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
She's the leader of the Flag Smash. Anyone?
Oh, did your stream cut out?
I think just a second.
Oh, okay. I think that's it for this movie. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm pretty much wrapped up on it. As I said, I don't think I disliked it as much as you guys, but I definitely recognize that I wish there were more there.
I think I definitely disliked it the most out of everyone since I gave it a 4 out of 10 and you guys gave it a 5.
Well, I will say that as soon as after first watching it, hated it, and but when you guys, the more information I was getting about it, I was like, okay, so that's more interesting than what was given to me. You know,
The whole story is more interesting than the movie. If you can, just look up the poem and read that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Well, I mean, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Well, why didn't they tell me that in the story? Or, like...
That would distract from the awards that they'd get for staring off into the distance.
That would distract from Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan's way better than this.
I mean, I actually thought the Giants looked like shit.
Oh yeah, they did look like shit.
I thought the Giants were cool.
I thought they were
like, I mean, they were
really
just kind of gray
awkward.
generic humans, but I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's just kind of.
Was it just like a copy of the same like woman,
That's
or
what I
was
thought.
it?
I think they were.
That's what it looked like to me. And then there was one like breastfeeding a giant baby.
Yeah, it was a weird scene.
It was, because it came out of nowhere and it's never explained.
Yeah.
Well, I still think he was tripping during that part.
I don't think he was, because the fox reacted to the giant.
I think it was real because basically at this point it's like trying to show you again their world building. They're trying to say like, yes, this world is magical,
Yeah.
nature, and of course like with the fox talking to him and there being a green knight, there's gonna be some weird shit out.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
there's magic.
Yes, magic, uh, and grandma, uh, not grandma. I'm like trying to think of what her connection was to
Granny
like,
McVoyer.
Granny. Yeah, who's just gargoyling in the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. You guys, what do you want to do now? Did you want to break off, or anyone want
I
to talk?
have
Yeah.
some stuff I have to take care of, but I'll be back in like probably 30 minutes or so.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
I'm good with ending it for now. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
we can
sounds good.
we
Yeah,
can
I'm
do
gonna
another thing
have to
next
call it
week.
a night too.
What do
Okay.
you guys think about like did you what do you think we should review?
Uh, Either the new Snake Eyes or the old Candyman until a good version of the new Candyman comes out.
Um, so are you on drill next weekend?
No, the weekend after.
Okay. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah.
You think would you be free to come back next Sunday?
I'm pretty sure I have the same schedule, so if we meet up at like 4 again, I
Yeah.
could probably do it.
I mean, we've been
I'll have
meeting
to
up at
check my
4.
Okay, I'll have to check my work schedule, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of just like collectively figure out what watch next time over the. If anyone wants to make a suggestion, here's Snake Eyes or.
We're good to do like older movies too, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe doing the original Candyman since.
Oh, right.
Original
Okay.
Candyman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, that movie
Well,
scared the
'cause
hell
new
out of
one's
me as
out,
a
and I want to
kid.
do that one, but it's not. There's no good quality of it online yet.
I can't tell you that how much I don't want to watch that, but
It's not in the
Is it because
Candyman.
it's not interesting, or
because I've seen it like 3 times.
Oh,
I
in
like it.
theaters?
No, just like in my lifetime. Like I like the movie. It just I'm just kind of bored with the story. But I guess I wouldn't mind reviewing it if everyone. Would you guys want to do that?
Candyman, the original?
I don't know.
I guess we can make suggestions and we can vote on it or something. But,
Why don't you make a poll for your followers?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can end it for the night. Dylan, does anybody want to plug anything?
Well, I do have a YouTube channel called Pancake Jams, Jams with a Z, and if anyone wants to check it out, I do covers and rock out with some pancakes.
Yeah, man. I think you also have some music coming out soon too, right?
Yeah, I have an EP out there. I go under the name of Good Luck Valiant, and I'm currently finishing the sequel EP. So the first one's The Darkness, and the second one's going to be called The Light.
And yeah, I think like we might be back later on. We're gonna be back later on with some Infinite Worlds. Depending on, I don't know what Quintessence is doing, or if he's gonna be busy. But yeah, so
It should only take like 30-ish minutes.
yeah, man, I say we could come back at like I think like 7 or 8 then. Figure it out.
Yeah, something like that would be fine.
All right, guys. Other than that, thanks for showing up and peace out.